Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SB Reacts where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Nesa titled BWBY, and if we switch over to here we have ourselves the track on YouTube on the screen. What you're about to witness is completely unscripted. We conducted this social experiment across the city to capture real reactions, and the responses we received were truly inspiring. Apparently this is production by Boy Radge. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. What do we got? Excellent.
Black, white, brown, yellow. Black, white, brown, yellow.
Great hook line.
Black, white, brown, yellow. I'm more than my color. Black, white, brown, yellow. What do you see when you see me walking in the streets? Why do you have to fear my identity? Why do I have to leave? This land is for the free. Why you look at me like I gotta pay a fee? Bound by a chain, life in jeopardy. Get out of life, die in custody. Shh. Do I get to stay or do I gotta go? I don't wanna know. Black, white, brown, yellow. Black, white, brown, yellow. Black, white, brown, yellow. I'm more than my color. Black, white, brown, yellow. I'm more than my color.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say that this is remarkably unique. You don't often get social experiences and, experiments in music videos, and I appreciate what we're trying to do here. It's really well-rounded so far.
Politics, equal opportunity, mostly in the name of animosity. How do I win in disparity? Do I gotta lose this part of me? No. You gotta know that I'm part of this country to build it up from scratch right here with you. I'll be doing me, but I'll be done by you. Gotta do it my way. Did I choose this for myself? No, I didn't. Why do I have to prove myself just to fit in? Would it hurt for you to treat me like I'm your brother? Are you so blind that you can't see past my color?
Fantastic build there with the tension.
Brown, yellow. Black, white, brown, yellow.
And the flutters of the strings.
White, brown, yellow. I'm more than my color. Black, white, brown, yellow. I'm more than my color.
Apparently there's a few other people reacting to stuff too. Awesome. We're going to talk about this track though more in a moment. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Nesa titled Black, White, Brown, Yellow, or BWBY. So before we get into it, I gave this song an overall score of 8.1 out of 10, which I feel that's a very high score. And I think that they deserve it. They did tremendously well across a wide range of facets within it. It's a really good song. But before we get into why that is, what is this track about? I think this track is specifically about racial inequality, just the absolute horrible stuff that Malaysian Indians have to deal with. And it's more like trying to encourage people within this track, as per the social experiment within the piece, to kind of get people to sort of see them as they're just more than a color. It's described here in a way where it does really just want to sort of equalize things and give everyone an opportunity and to not kind of mistreat people. And it's not only talking from the perspective of someone who is going through these difficulties, but who wants better from people. And I feel like it does show that there are people that see, again, Nesa as more, and people as more than a color, and that is a bit of hope, amongst the difficulties that they deal with. And it's just it's terrible. I think it's an important thing to write a song about. In terms of the vocals, I thought that they were incredibly well handled. I appreciated the vocal technique. We were very comfortable in the head and chest voice. There was some sort of rapped or sort of like sung parts there with a good sense of melody to them and rhythmic phrasing there. The backing vocals and harmonies we had there were fantastic as well. And it was a great sense of life as the main sort of like focal point of the mix, the storytelling device, as well as just the lead. I think it was incredibly well handled. We expressed ourselves well. There was never a point where it was confusing or there was any uncertainty about what we were going for there, but it was also a sense of maturity and sophistication with it that I appreciate. We weren't just kind of like very kind of blunt with it. We did try and round it out, and I feel that was very, very good. Like, it honestly sounded commercial grade from a vocal performance perspective, but also from a studio production perspective. But I suppose before we get into the studio production stuff, I want to comment on the actual structure of the tracks. I feel like that was really well done. We had just this musical theme motif starting things off, and then we came into that hook line, and we kind of get straight to the point of it, cut to the chase, and we elaborate further within that verse section. And I think that that's really smart. I mean, I don't really think we could have done things better. I feel like if we're trying to have the vocals the main focal point, we're not necessarily going to have too many other lead elements, but there's enough going on instrumentally around the piece to support it, to keep it interesting with different sections with clear identities that transfer neatly between each other. And there's this interesting kind of like minor-esque kind of plucked part with oscillation and kind of like it's kind of a warbly kind of tone at the start, which almost makes it sound a bit kind of trippy and disparate. It gives a sense of almost like it's just a bit of a kind of like, it messes with your head, the situation that's going on there. It's almost kind of ridiculous that we're even having to deal with this in the first place. The difficulties that we are, because we should just be trying to love each other, but the minor leaning at the start it is especially poignant, and it shows an immediate sort of like sense of polish with the production, but also the clarity of these instruments and understanding how to sort of like iterate stuff within a frequency spectrum. We have these interesting other sort of like plugged instruments in amongst these sort of like really tightly controlled 808s, these basses and these drums, which have a great sense of punch, and they sidechain neatly, and there's a great sense of flow amongst the quarter eighth and 16th note grooves. And I appreciate the way that things are panned in the stereo field, not just from a production but a compositional perspective, because things go in and out. There is dynamic range to it, but it's just almost like things can go further outwards, and you layer different instruments further out to kind of help you be more surrounded in the headphones by it. It's just very effective. I mean, there's a catchiness to the main sort of like riffs and motifs within the piece, but to further decorate it is very, very good. And those like string flurries that we have almost in the second time of each chorus part is just phenomenal. It's a great kind of palate cleanser and refresher, and there's a sense of drama to it as well, and tension, like things are fluttering and flittering around. It's like, whoa, what's going on? Then you're sucked back in for that second time of it. I feel like that's very effective. And there's development instrumentally throughout the piece there. Like, we do have further sort of like bass synths outside of the 808s that come in to kind of add a sense of like kind of like gloom and doom, even as we're crying out to kind of like asking questions about why do we have to do these just to fit in. It's poignant, and I feel like it's not too on the nose even with the minor key to it. Like, instrumentally it's very competent. We've got a great sense of variety and rhythmically with the percussion there. The bass and other instruments finalize the root notes of the chords within the progressions really well. And there's a contrast between the plucked arpeggiated components and the held notes that allows the track to kind of flow really neatly with dynamic range and things being taken in and out for space when they need to, and put more in when we need the heavier parts. Thematically, I think it almost like wants to loop into this almost minor, again, as I mentioned, it was in a minor key there. It's diatonic. You get the feeling that there is not really much hope for it to improve because of the fact that we don't really have any major leanings within it. And I think that that's sensible. I feel like if we had asked these questions and then we'd indicated things went major, we found a solution. But no, I think these are serious questions that are being asked, and that if we were to try and sort of like marginalize it by trying to, it would be reductive to try and sweeten it. I think that that intensity, that flavor is required here, especially for the subject matter. And then we just finished the track with the dun 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 dun. Like, it's a really catchy melody at the end there, and it's just interesting tones as well, which I think they might be instruments from India, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong there. And I just feel like having those infusions there kind of kind of grounds it and makes it a bit more authentic. So I feel like all the performance-based and compositional devices used, plus the chord progressions, main ideas, and lyrics, they connect really well with each other. It's just now coming down to the actual composition, the studio production here, which I feel is commercial grade. The quality of the actual vocal performance itself, with the way the effects chains are treated, the reverbs, like the compression, etc., the way things are spread around in stereo field are fantastic. And it's also the quality of the recording of the individual instruments outside of that, plus the way they're presented within the frequency spectrum without any weird resonant frequencies, how things are split around the stereo field, the music surrounds you in the headphones in various places. There's plenty of change and diversity there, which I appreciate. There is dynamic range to this. It's not the same loudness all the time, which just makes it more interesting. But things are still nicely glued there. There's a great sense of polish to it and flair there. And it's nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting is handled. Ultimately, I feel this is a really strong track. And it's my first impression to what Nesa does with their music. I feel like it's a really important direction that they're going, and I feel like this is about as good as it gets in terms of making music that matters. It's about stuff that is specifically relevant to you, that is not too kind of, it's definitely not generic. I think people are going to think about this track, and I hope that things change for the better, And I'm sorry to hear that Nesa goes through that, but thank you for watching my review of this track. This is a fantastic track from Nesa, titled BWBY, produced by Boy Radge, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.